Okay, hello guys, and welcome back to Strong Opinion Hibs. This is episode number 5. I'm your host Calvin, and I'm joined by my good mate Charlie Banks. How you doing, Charlie?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing well. Just before we get started with this podcast, we just wanted to address the allegations of racism that happened to Glenn Kamara in the Europa League match. I think it was against Slavia Prague that Rangers played.
That's right.
What were your thoughts on that, Charlie?
It's disgusting, mate. Like to just see that on the football pitch in a massive game such as the Europa League. It's not great to see. Actually, sack that. It's not great to see it anywhere. Never mind on a football park. You shouldn't. We're in 2021. We shouldn't be having racism still as a prevalent part of our society as it is. So I was gutted to see it happen, and hopefully we never see it again. You know.
I completely agree with you, mate. It's just so ugly to see, and we both of us, me and Charlie, just at Strong Opinion Hibs, just want to say completely against that, and we also stand with Glenn Kamara and everyone else in Scottish football who's trying to take action and get things changed in the game. And the best way that we can do that, and the listeners at home can do that, is if you see any allegations of racism, whether you're at Easter Road or a Scotland match at Hampden or something like that, or even at your work, or call it out. Call it out, because there's no place for it in society or anything. So, absolutely disgusted with that. And as we said, football's for everybody, no matter what colour, gender, anything. Football's for everybody. It's everybody's game and everyone loves it. So let's make sure everybody's included.
Aye, bang on, mate, bang on.
Aye, so put that to one side. Let's just jump straight into it this week, Charlie. It's just back to me and you. We've had some great guests on over the last couple of weeks. We had Money Minter, 75, and Darren Phil Thompson last week, which was two really good guests. Really enjoyed their company and their views and opinions. But just back to me and you this week, Charlie. What was your thoughts on the Livingston game then, mate? 1-1 it finished.
Finally, one of us gets a prediction right for the score.
Was that you that predicted that? I can't remember what I said. I think I said 2-0 Hibs or 2-1. I honestly can't remember.
I'm over the moon with getting a prediction right. But nah, I mean, it was very frustrating to watch at times, wasn't it? I think.
So would that be your one word to sum it up in?
I wouldn't say frustrating, because I actually thought we were brilliant second half.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably inconsistent would be the word I'd use.
Aye.
What about yourself? How would you sum it up?
I'm probably going to stand by what I said on the Long Bangers podcast. if you've seen that, I got a wee bit. A few people disagreeing, but it's good. It's healthy to have disagreements and people have their views. But I just thought it was quite a typical Hibs performance, where it's like you're maybe expecting great things, but you just come up short. And by that I felt like Hibs probably did deserve the win, but typically they just missed out. Do you know what I mean? Missed maybe a few good chances, made the mistake at the back with Porteous, and I think I think when Livingston scored their goal, I then just thought, typically.
Yeah.
There's no chance we couldn't make it easier for ourselves and go 1-0 and getting 2-0 up or something like that. It would have to do it the hard way. So, I'd stand by that, mate. What else were you thinking about the game then?
I thought we, like I said, second half we were brilliant. We looked like we were going to score a few times as well second half, and I mean, great to see Deutsch get a goal, eh? Like really, really good to see him finally get a goal.
Mm-hmm. It was good that he sort of persevered, mate. And one of the things I noticed when Deutsch scored his goal, you actually seen a lot of the boys, run right up to him and gather around him, really celebrating, and you could tell they were all absolutely chuffed for him, eh? So I seen that in Jack Ross's interview after the game, eh? They were saying that Deutsch, is really popular in amongst the squad, and that, eh? So it's good to see all the boys were delighted for him, and hopefully that does kickstart his confidence, because he has taken a wee bit of flack over the last couple of weeks.
And I mean, I think it's perfect time for him to score with us going into the split, eh? Like, these are the games that matter now. So for him to break that, was it 15 game duck and not scoring, to
something like that, I
finally get a goal. And I think I actually saw a lot of what we saw in him last season on Saturday. I think he held the ball up well. I think he fought for the ball well. And it's something you'll remember a few weeks ago, I slated him for it. And I think it's something that I was really impressed by on Saturday. Him and Nisbet up top together is our best partnership, I would say. They look very good together again.
We started the season really well with the two up top, mate. And I honestly think we're one of the only teams in the country that actually plays two up top.
Aye.
And we went through a really strange spell where we sort of stopped playing both of them up top together and things like that, and we sort of hit a wee dry patch. But it's good to see them both back up top, and I do think they link up well together.
Oh, I think it's hard because Boyle has produced the goals, but I think his best position, is out wide, and I think if we can play them together up top, hopefully one of them doesn't get injured. But for the running, I think it's going to do massive boost for their confidence. Both of them scoring the past 2 games, and just hopefully they gel going forward.
I agree, mate. Just like getting the band back together, can't get the boys back together, scoring and things like that. What was your sort of thoughts on the Livingston goal when Livingston took that lead with a mistake at the back with Porteous?
Oh, it was schoolboy, wasn't it? It's like I don't think he really knew what he was trying to do with the ball. And I think another thing, Marciano, I wasn't really sure if he knew what he was trying to do saving that ball as well. It seemed like he dived too late for it, but no, I mean that's the one thing that really annoys me about Hibs is sometimes how soft the goals that we concede are.
Yeah, and silly.
And really silly. You're right. We can probably think of goals off the top of our head this season that we could have been avoided, and I think that's another one that has potentially cost us 3 points at the weekend.
Aye, definitely. I would say for that mistake, it was just seemed like a real lack of communication amongst the back 5, like the goalie and the back 4. I felt sorry for Porteous, but he is he's not a young boy anymore. Do you know what I mean? He's coming into a man, and he's sort of trying to cement his position in the team. Like he really needs to cut those mistakes out because they can be quite costly, and especially if we do get 3rd place and we come up against quite good European opposition, like that's the type of things that can cost us, eh? So he does need to. I do like Porteous, and I think there's a cracking player in there. And I think he'd be a brilliant future Hibs captain. And I think that one of the things for Porteous is I don't know if he wears his heart on his sleeve a wee bit too much, because he's Hibs through and through, and he likes to throw his body on the line and get stuck into tackles and things like that. So he's dead passionate, and I do think he will come good. What's been your thoughts on his performance in that of late in this season and a wee bit in and out the team?
I wonder if he was apparently going to Millwall in January. I wonder if that's maybe went to his head a wee bit, like, there are teams interested in me. I'll maybe try and perform for the camera a wee bit. But no, I think the week before, on the other hand, like against Ross County, he was brilliant, I felt. And you're right. I think he does. Him and Darren McGregor, maybe, I think they both wear their heart on their sleeve a wee bit too much. But no, I think I agree totally, mate. There's definitely a good player in there, and I think he just needs to level his head a wee bit sometimes and read the game a bit better. I think, definite. I would say the next Hibs captain after Paul Hanlon gets stripped of the captaincy.
I'd agree with you there, mate. I think he's probably although we are saying, he's sort of trying to become more of a senior player and mature a wee bit. Yeah, even the greats make mistakes and things like that, but it was costly, unfortunately. And I do think he needs to sort of iron that out of his game.
Aye.
But we came close for a couple chances, mate. We probably could have won the game. I think second half we were absolutely immense.
Aye.
I thought we came out, out of the trap firing. We were really, really good. We looked threatening. We boiled down the wing, and Nisbet and Doidge up front. There's a few chances. The one that sort of flashed across the goal when Boyle was running in.
Aye.
And it was just so unlucky. It's just it just wouldn't seem to go in the net, which was unfortunate for us.
It's just it happens. You get games like that. So I think it's just frustrating. Mate. Aye.
When Nisbet sort of ran through as well, and he done really well, and he almost seemed to sort of try to pass it across the goal into into the side away from the goalie, and it just trickled past the post and things like that. Just unlucky, because obviously if those goals go in, those shots go in, it builds confidence for the team and things like that, and but I was thinking about this, mate, as we were coming up with points to make in the podcast and sort of analyse the game. I was thinking, have to give Livingston credit, because Livingston are actually a good team. Like they've been a solid team all year.
Aye.
You know, looks like they've cemented fifth place as well.
Aye.
And they've got some cracking players, mate. They really have. They're quite a very good team. What was your thoughts on some of the Livingston guys?
It almost seems like Craig Sibbald loves to score against anyone. Sorry, doesn't he like to score against anyone? But as soon as Hibs come to town, he's right up for it. Eh? Like,
no, I know.
I mean, take the defensive errors away. He took his goal well, and I think, I mean, like you say, Livingston are a well-rounded team. I think they always have been, really. And they played their game well. I think they were maybe a wee bit lucky to come away with the draw, but I think no, they done well. And fair play to them, you know. That's 2 seasons in a row top 6. So I mean,
exactly,
last season never really ended, did it? But you know, they've done well this season again, and full credit to Martindale and they're a good team.
Think it's funny, mate, because when I was younger and growing up in that, you know, Livingston were always sort of flirting with the championship and up and down and sort of, you know, and that's probably still the image of Livingston that I have in my head. But I actually think they've obviously progressed and developed, and they've actually become quite a decent Premiership team. You know, it's probably quite right. This actually brings me on to one of the next points, because this is a point that I absolutely. I'll tell you what, I won't tell you my opinion on it. What do you think of the Livingston Astro? People talking about playing on the Astro at Livingston and that's maybe why, you know, the ball bounced the wrong way, or I've heard a lot of Hibs fans making excuses for some of the performances we've had up there in recent times due to their pitch.
I mean,
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, mate.
I don't think that AstroTurf pitches should be in the top flight.
Right.
But on the contrary to that, we train on an AstroTurf pitch 5 days a week. So I don't understand how we can't turn what we're training on an Astro pitch. I know we train on grass as well, but why can we not go from training on that especially if we're playing Livy or Killy? We should be training on that Astro pitch more often than on the grass that week, because we're going to be playing on it on Saturday. But the last time we were at Livy, we battered them 4-1. So it's just, I think the AstroTurf pitch I don't agree with it in modern day football. You know, Jamie Murphy done his leg in on an Astro pitch. He almost never played football again. So I just think if you're a top flight team, you can't have an Astro pitch.
Yeah, I think my frustration with it is that people look to the Astro pitch as an excuse, and it's like, we never won because, you know, Livy have got a terrible pitch. It's the AstroTurf. It's the AstroTurf. Like, mate, come on, you're a professional football player. Like, if you've ever been to Ace Men's, they've got like 3 or 4 Astros down there. Like, I just don't buy that. Like, no. I don't buy the Astro being an issue. Like, it bounces the wrong way or something like that. Like, mate, even schoolboys and that nowadays, like growing up, like everybody plays on Astro. Like, kind of at the weekend, it's like, everyone's going to the Astros. Like, it's not like it's uncommon or like never heard of. Like, it's very common. I mean, yes, top flight teams should be playing on grass and that, and I can understand why, maybe for financial reasons or something, that some of them do have that all weather, all year round pitch. But I hate when people say like, you know, we never won that match because it's a tough place to play, that Astro at Livingston and stuff like that. It's like, I just hate that excuse. I just think like, nah, didn't blame the ground, man. Like, you're professional football players. Like,
I've never bought that argument either. Like,
I've seen, it's a popular one though. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people talk about it. Like, even like guys on sports and stuff like that talk about the Livingston Astro pitch and that, and it's like, I just don't get it. Eh?
I honestly think that a lot of the media though, they are looking for just someone to blame Livingston for, really. You know, I think like there's been so many times when Celtic and Rangers go and the managers are complaining about, the pitch is rubbish. Like, well, get over yourselves. You're the biggest team in the country, you know? And I just think people are, I would say, trying to use Livy as the scapegoat for their frustrations when they didn't win there. But I mean, like you say, mate, they're professional football players at the end of the day. They train on it, or at least we train on it. So we should be able to adapt our game to the Astro.
That's just one of the things that bug me when people say that. I just don't buy it. But Yes, I think overall, I think Pribs are probably unlucky. A bit of a slow start against Livingston, but we're unlucky not to come away with 3 points. I think there was a lot of positives to take from that. For example, Nisbet seemed to, get a game full 90 minutes. Dodge playing as well, doing well. Young Josh Doig's looking good. Boyle's looking good in the wing. Like the team's definitely coming together for the next split of fixtures, which takes us into the top 6 in the split. Now, these were announced, mate. First up, Rangers away. Home to Livingston next. Home to St Johnstone. Away to Aberdeen, then home to Celtic. How do you see that panning out, mate?
I think they're all going to be tough games, aren't they?
I think we realised that at the weekend there against Livingston. That just proved every game in the top 6 is going to be tough.
Nobody's in the top 6 and doesn't deserve to be there. I think St Mirren were probably unlucky to miss out, but
I would agree.
St Johnstone they've won the League Cup. They're there because they deserve to be, But I mean, I'm confident going into them. I think I'm confident going into the home games. I think we'll get something every home game. Rangers and Aberdeen away, though, I'm not really sure. I think, although to be fair, we're actually playing Rangers at a decent time because they've won the league. Nobody's expecting them to do anything.
They might want to try and go invincible the way.
That's it, and I think it would be class if we could stop that.
I think. Now, I'm usually very hesitant when it comes to predicting big things for Hibs, but I think that Hibs will beat them, and I think the reason they'll beat them is because I've listened to a lot of the people talking on Sports Sound, the guys talking on Open Goal, Sci-Fi and things like that, and a few other channels that I listen to Scottish podcasts, football podcasts, saying that Celtic are the only team that can stop Rangers, and it's not true. It's not true. I don't know why people are saying that. Like I think Hibs could beat them, and I certainly hope someone beats them and they don't go invincible. But I think Hibs have got a good chance.
I mean, going to Ibrox, mate. We never ever really expect anything, do we? So,
in the past, but see when Rangers were down and we were going through them, we were gubbing them. There's a good few seasons we were gubbing them all the time. It was brilliant, man. I loved playing Rangers because it was almost a guaranteed 3 points, eh?
And it was like we were. It was like they were rubbish, eh? Like it was like they were a minnow and we were the big guns.
Exactly.
I agree, mate. I think we could go there and win. I don't see why not. I think
I'm going to predict a win for that game. Like we'll go more into this when it comes round to it, into the top 6 and that. But I predict a Hibs win for that one, mate. I think we'll beat them, eh?
And I think we just need one more win and third secure, really.
Aberdeen.
I was speaking to I can't remember who I was talking to about it earlier this week, and they were saying if we win one, Aberdeen need to win 4 to finish third. Aberdeen aren't going to win any games in the split, in my opinion.
It doesn't look like it. I mean, obviously announced today, Stephen Glass is going to be their new manager.
A
bit of a weird one for me, that, to be honest, with ex-Hibby as well.
It's a weird one for me too, mate. I think they've went the cheap option.
I don't understand why you'd get rid of McInnes and get him in. I think McInnes probably just had a wee bit of bad luck with the form and stuff they were on, but they've still got good players and they can still come good. But next up, Livingston at home. I think that'll probably be a tricky game, and I think we should win that as well, to be honest with you.
I would say a draw for that one if I'm putting money on it.
Yeah, you could be right, mate. Then we've got St Johnstone at home.
That's the most difficult one to predict because they always seem to turn up at Easter Road.
And the last 2 times we played them, we've obviously lost 3-0 in the semi, and then 1-0 just 2 weeks ago, or however long it was.
I'd love to see us batter them, but
it's strange because it hasn't been. Although the scoreline's favoured them, there hasn't really been much in the games. Like semi-final, to be fair, first half we battered them. We battered them. The only difference between 2 weeks ago was the fact that they took their one chance they had and we never.
That's it.
So hopefully the boys will be up for that.
Aye.
And then Aberdeen away. Oh, that was the first. See when this fixtures came out, it was the first game I looked up. See when I seen it was away.
Aye.
I wasn't sure, when I seen it away, I thought that was going to be tricky.
I'm glad we've got them 4th game because I think 3rd will be wrapped up by then, so it doesn't really matter.
I hope so, mate.
But I'm on the flip of that. I'm glad we've not got them first game of the split, because that could have been torture to watch.
I agree, mate. I agree. I don't actually know what their order is, but
no, I don't know either. But I think
I'd expect it to be wrapped up by them.
Oh, easily.
Mm-hmm. I think we'll have a very hard time finishing third if I get to the Aberdeen game and it's not already cemented. I think we could probably kiss it goodbye.
I would
if
say
it's
so.
if it's neck and neck, I think it'll be. I think we need to win one of the first 3 games, obviously.
I think we'll win. I think we'll win 2 of the first 3. I'm putting out.
No, I do, mate. I feel a little bit confident as well. Then Celtic at home.
I think we'll win that.
I'll chuck my hand, and I think we'll win it as well. Why not? I'll go for a Hibs win.
What have they got to play for?
Now, the season's finished, so
I mean, hopefully by then we've nothing to play for either. But I just think it's Rocky's last game. It's Jackson Irvin's probably last game. Who really knows?
Hope no, aye.
And it might be Nisbet's last game if he goes to the Euros. Somebody might pick him up. I think it's just go out and prove a point, like for next season especially, because Celtic are in a massive rebuild now, So
we'll see. We put out a poll just after the game at the weekend there and asked how many games can Hibs win in the top 6? Or 5 games, 4 games, 3 games, or 1 or 2 games. Now, the majority of Hibs fans think that 80% think we'll win between 1, 2, or 3 games. Is that sort of where you see us as well, Charlie?
I was looking at that poll earlier. The people that have predicted that we'll win all 5, I want to have what they're on, because I can't see that. But no,
it must have been a mistake. It must have clicked the wrong one, like that.
I think between 1 and 3 is probably a sensible bet.
Probably realistic.
I actually think we could win 4 of them, and I think the dodgy one's the Aberdeen one. But
the thing is, mate. Sorry, you go, mate.
I think 1 or 2 is probably your safest bet, though.
I was just going to say there, mate. It was like what me and you were talking about just before we pressed record. Is I reckon Hibs will probably do Celtic and Rangers when they lose to lose the other 3, because that is Hibs.
that would back up your point of typical Hibs.
I think that would be. You could probably predict that. Probably gub the Old Firm and lose at home to Livingston or something like that, because that's just how we do it.
And I mean,
honestly,
let's be honest, mate. It's been a quality season, And
it's been good to have it back. It's been good to have it back. When first lockdown and it was off and that, man, it was brutal.
And I think they're predicting that we might have some fans in by the end of the season. So even if we I think they're predicting to have some fans for the last game. So, mate, fans at home to Celtic. There's no away fans. I think that would work in our favour for the Celtic game if we can
that
get
could
it.
be decent. Yeah.
But then if they're planning it for the last 2 games like they're planning, then Aberdeen at home with fans,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
be tricky one, mate. Tricky one.
Aye.
So I will for the listeners, we'll come back to the top 6. We're not obviously hitting international break now, but we'll come back and look at it more in depth. We've actually managed to reach out to some other podcasts as well, some other of the opposition teams there, like Aberdeen. And the guys who run the podcast Red Tinted Glasses is an Aberdeen podcast. Those guys have agreed to come on and sort of share their thoughts on the Hibs Aberdeen game and the season so far, in terms of Hibs and Aberdeen and what sort of both set of fans expected before the game. So that'll be good to have them on, and we look forward to having them. We're hoping to get in contact with the Livingston boys as well. I think it's at the Almond View podcast, and do a little bit more integration with other types of fans as well and hear their opinion. Just going into the top 6 just to hear other people's thoughts as well. But, mate, that brings us on to the international break. Do you want to run through this one?
Aye, so we've got 3 boys away this time. We've got Nisbet away with Scotland against Austria, Israel and Faroe Islands. We've got Marciano away with Israel against Denmark, Scotland and Moldova. And we've got Gogic away with Cyprus against Slovakia, Croatia, and Slovenia. We would have had Irvin and Boyle away with Australia, but due to COVID, they're not travelling. So good to see us having 3 boys away, like.
Especially, mate, I was looking at that as well. That's sort of 5 guys from our first team that are international. Like, we've not had that in a while.
I'd hazard a guess and say we've never had that.
For 10?
In the time I've supported Hibs.
You could be right.
Well, I think we've had 5 internationalists in the time I've supported Hibs.
I mean, you could be right. It's hard to think back on the spot.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Listeners have got they've got a clue what we're talking about. It's hard to think back on the spot, but I don't know. It always seems to be the case. Like guys, never sort of get a call up when they're at Hibs. It always seems to be when they sort of move away. Because I mean, John McGinn was sort of flirting with the idea of being in the. I don't actually think he got a Don't quote me on this. Like I'm not sure he got a Scotland call up when he was with Hibs. I think it was when he moved to Aston Villa. He then got the call up.
I think he got called up just. Maybe, I think you might be right, just as he left.
So it's hard to say that Hibs had a player in the team, but you sort of looked at John as one of your own, So obviously guys like Griffiths and that as well, like, in the past when they've been at Hibs, not been good enough, apparently. And then they move back to Wales and he's in the team. I think the last internationalist we had was maybe McNulty, when McNulty got the call up when he was with us.
Aye, that sounds right.
And I think Kevin Nisbet's
under 21s though, eh?
Aye, we usually have quite a few under 21s like Porto and things like that. And
Omionga was at Belgium and
Glenn Middleton and that as well. Like when he was on loan and that, he was under 21s as well. I sort of think that Kevin Nisbet's outing is going to be quite similar to McNulty's when he was at Hibs. I don't think he'll start in the Austria game. I'm not sure we'll see him until maybe the Faroe Islands. I'd like to think I'm wrong, but I think for some reason that they'll probably go Dykes and that Che Adams up front.
As long as they're not for
no particular reason.
I just think
I
just don't blame
strange, mate. Strange, really strange. I've tried to be positive about McBurney when I've watched Scotland and that, and I've actually spent the game watching him and his movement and things like that, and I'm like, there must be something this boy does well, or he wouldn't be in the team. There must be, to be fair to him, he holds the ball up quite well. He does hold the ball up well, but he doesn't offer much in terms of an attacking threat. And how he's managed to get himself in the English Premier League, I've no idea. But I do think that Dykes has proved his worth. I think Dykes is a good player,
massively, mate. And I think it's always encouraging to see, we've got decent strike options, maybe apart from your what do you call him, McBurney. I don't think he's very great, but no, I think we've never had that from Scotland, a decent strike force, I would say.
Nah, looking back to the Kenny, but I think I'm not sure how much game time this, but I'll get. It'll be interesting to come back on next week and sort of have a look at that and chat about, what he's done, if he's been able to get himself a shout. But I think just him being in and around the squad will be good for him and obviously good for our price tag as well, having an internationalist as well. So absolutely delighted for him because me and you thought he counted them out, didn't we? I certainly did. I thought he'd ruined his chances. We sort of to carry on. We want to go to Birmingham and all of that. But at least the Birmingham fans will get to see what he looks like in blue. You know what I mean?
Mate, I mean, good on him, eh? At the end of the day, good on him. He's done well this season. Obviously, a bit frustrating in January time that he wasn't really playing well, but all positive, mate. Mm-hmm.
I'd agree with you, mate. Marciano, he's away. Obviously, Israel, as you said, against Denmark. He's going to come up against some cracking players playing for Denmark. The boy Eriksson in the middle first. I was just about to say Spurs, no longer Spurs. It's Inter, isn't it?
Inter Milan.
I think he's looking for a move away from there. They've got the boy up front, Kasper Dolberg. I think he plays for Nice. Ex Ajax and that. So Rocky's going to have his hands full. Hey, coming up a lot of good players there. So that'll be good experience for him.
As well, Israel. We know what they're about. So.
Mate, how many times have we played them? It's like we can't do anything without playing Israel. It seems like that's all we do.
I think they heat the balls up when they're drawing the group. Say Scotland, Israel, same group again.
It's strange. It is strange. It's really strange. But they're a decent side, and I think Scotland will have quite a couple tough battles in that with the sort of international break coming up. But I'll be honest with you, mate. I hate international football. I'd rather it was just Hibs.
I just don't see the point there just now when no one else can travel, eh?
Aye.
So But good to see the three of them up. Gogic should have a 3 tough games. as well. Slovakia are a good side. Croatia are a brilliant side, and Slovenia
Croatia, aye.
A quality side as well.
Will he be in the middle of the park versus Modric then?
Oh, could you imagine that?
Is that what he's going to be in the middle of the park versus Modric? I don't know who else they've got in their team. Mandzukic, is he still with him? Or
Rakitic will be there or thereabouts.
Here's a question for you, Martin Boyle. See if he'd chosen to, try and fight for his place in the Scotland team instead of choosing Australia. Do you think he'd be in with a sniff for this campaign, or no? What do you think?
I think he would be, mate. I think he's had a very good season. Returned a lot of goals. I wonder if this is probably his highest goal return in a season, I would say. And I think his link-up play's been brilliant this season. So I think he would be in about it.
He's definitely been one of our most influential players, but I think just because he plays for Hibs, he'd probably been overlooked. Whereas I think if he was, for example, like playing for a Celtic, then I think he'd probably definitely be in the team.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
I think it's a little bit the case of like the boy Turnbull at Celtic, for example. A lot of Celtic fans are shouting for him to be in the Scotland squad, and guys like Saiferi and that, and it's like, what, like, whose place is he going to take? And what is he, what has he proved that, the likes of Boyle and that haven't, and guys like Scott Allen and that, like, overlooked all the time. Do you know what I mean? That frustrates me a wee bit, that with Scotland. But it's going to be an interesting time with Scotland. I'm also looking forward to the Euros and that as well, mate. But
massively looking forward to that.
I am looking forward to getting the international break out of the way and just getting back on talking about Hibs. But we'll probably come and review the Scotland games and that as well, probably next week's podcast. And we'll give you a wee international update on how the boys and that are doing.
That's good.
So, last section, mate. I think you've got some of the listeners' questions.
I do. First one comes from a mate of mine called Simon McKenzie, saying, who would you say needs to leave Hibs at the end of the season?
Oh, who needs to leave? Wow. I think we touched on it a couple of weeks ago. Probably guys like Hallberg. Like I don't really see, like, we signed guys like Hallberg and Slivka, like none of them seem to really put a stamp on their position in the team. And I think Hallberg's been there for a wee while now. It seems he's been glimpses of a good footballer, but it's just never really burst onto the scene. I don't really understand signings like that. Who else is in there that probably needs to? I think we'll probably lose a lot of boys like McGregor and that. I think they're really at the end of the end. I think probably in terms of playing, nearing the end. I don't think Louis will be far off that either.
No, I would say so.
But I'm not saying get rid of him, but I think probably Hallberg. I just don't see really what he adds to the team at this moment in time. I'm not sure at all about that. What about yourself, mate? You have any ideas?
Dre Wright.
Yeah.
Dre Wright and Hallberg are the two that I would say without a shadow of a doubt. Up until Saturday, I would have said Doidge as well, but see how he finishes the season. But
unless, I don't know if Dre Wright can sort of get a run in the pre-season and that, and sort of get himself just clean slate and start again. However, we've got Cadden and Boyle. He's probably third choice.
Jamie Murphy's on loan. Too, he's on loan for Rangers though, isn't he? So I wonder if Dre Wright will want to stake a claim for next season. But I've never really been fond of him since he joined.
As I say, mate, I'd never heard him until we'd signed him. No, never heard him. Never. So I think Hallberg and Dre Wright are the two. I'd go with that, mate.
And last one this week comes from a friend of mine, Andy Rogers, who runs a football podcast called Football Bloody Hell on YouTube. Very good podcast if the listener or somebody checked it out yet. And he says, if you and Calvin were to pick 3 signings or 3 contract extensions, who would they be? And it can be 3 realistic and 3 dream.
So contract extensions at Hibs?
Aye. Or 3 signings or 3 contract extensions. One or the other, I think he's wanting.
I'll probably go 3 extensions, probably a bit of cop out. I'll probably go Marciano, Boyle and Nisbet. Oh wait, maybe Irvin. I'd probably take Irvin because I think Boyle signed a new deal, so I'll sacrifice him and I'll say Marciano, Irvin, and Nisbet.
Fair.
I think in terms of realistic signings, or maybe unrealistic, like keeping it within sort of. I'm not going to say Ronaldo or that because it's not funny. But realistic signings, I think we've talked about it, mate. Griffiths, I think Griffiths would probably be a good addition in terms of. I mean, he's Hibs through and through, and hopefully he can come back and do a wee bit of a job like Stephen Naismith's done for Hearts, like sort of be a bit of a leader, a bit more mature in his career and things like that. And you know, one of the players that when you line up to play against Hibs, a lot of opposition's fans will hate, and a lot of opposition's fans will, you know, and he'll hate them back just as much, just exactly the same way, you know, Naismith is at Hearts. I think we maybe lack that wee bit of an older head. So Griff. Unrealistic. I mean, I think Declan Gallagher would probably be a good addition to our squad. The boy from Motherwell. Will we get him? Not a chance.
Massively.
Not a chance.
Nah, we're not.
Not a chance. Obviously, Jason Kerr at St Johnstone's another good defender.
I
think the defence is probably the place we need to strengthen the most. I'm not actually sure as well. You know what? I'll go for an obscure one that no one will know about, right? And this is a bit mad, but when I used to live in Norway, right, I used to go watch the local team called Lillestrøm. I lived literally right next door, and there was a boy that played for Lillestrøm called Fred Friday. Now, if you're a listener, look him up because he was absolutely minted. Seriously, when I used to go watch him, the boy was rapid. He was head and shoulders above any of the opposition that came to play. He was a Nigerian striker, and he went and signed for that team. He signed for a team in Holland. I'll just quickly Google it now because I can't actually mind you what they're called. God, they've not got a bloody name. AZ Alkmaar.
Oh, aye.
You'd recognise the badge. AZ Alkmaar. And I tell you what, the boy was absolutely rapid. He was very, very good. And when I seen him, I thought that's someone like he could probably get a game for Hibs. When I was there looking at our team, because they were pretty poor, like they were pretty below average. But when I seen him, I was like, he could probably get a game for Hibs. But if you don't know him, check him out. Fun fact as well, when I was there, I seen Holland play for Mulder.
Oh wow!
Against the local team as well, and he was rapid. But
oh man,
aye. So there's an obscure one for you, but maybe realistic. Good player, like really good player. If you don't know, what's your ones, mate? I do it with the boy at Motherwell as well in the middle, Campbell. But I think we said that before, so just.
I think realistic. I think Jason Kerr's realistic. I think Odafine for Hamilton's realistic. The striker there, I think, someone we should be looking at. I think he's a brilliant player, and I think another realistic one that might turn a few heads is I think Liam Kelly, the Motherwell keeper.
Right.
I think realistic / unrealistic because I think Motherwell will sign him, but I think he would be a great replacement for Marciano if we're not going down the Matt Macy route. So they would be my three. I think unrealistic. I think I'd love us to sign Sean Rooney at St Johnstone. Just at right back, mate. I think he's a very, very good player, and I think he'd offer a lot. Well, probably the same as Paul McGinn, but different in the same sense. I actually think Griffiths is unrealistic in terms of because I think Edward's going to leave Celtic, and I mean if Edward leaves, then I think if they're looking for money, then we could get Griffiths, but I think if they're looking at maybe taking Boyle off us in the summer, then he has Griffiths in return.
I think the thing is as well with Griffiths, mate. Like I agree with you. Like I'd have him back, but at the same time, like you know, he obviously can be a bit hassle as well. Do you know what I mean? Like he does bring that with him. But I think as well, like I used to be of the opinion, like see guys like Kevin Thompson and that coming back, and like just using like Stephen Whittaker, like just using Hibs for a bit of a ride to like see at the end of their career. I'm not into doing like old folk favours now, but I think for Griffiths, I'd probably make an exception. But I agree with you, probably unrealistic, mate.
I think the last unrealistic one, and it's someone that I've been a massive fan of for years, playing down south at Newcastle, was Matty Longstaff.
All right, okay.
I think it's someone that, I mean, Rangers looked at him in the summer there, and I actually think that if Hibs put an offer in, I think it might get accepted just for loan. And I think it's unrealistic, but it's one that I would like to see us get, because I think he'd drive us for. I remember they played us in a friendly at Easter Road, was it almost 2 years ago now, and he played that night.
Mm-hmm.
He scored a brilliant goal, and he just controlled the middle of that park. And I think I'd love to see him play for Hibs, but I just can't see it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you made me think when you started talking that. I was thinking, Duncan Watmore. Mind Duncan Watmore.
Oh, I remember him all right.
It's not a bad team, eh?
Aye.
But no, that brings us to the end, mate. That brings us to the end of the podcast. But looking forward to the next couple of weeks, getting the Scotland games and that out the way, and then seeing sort of how this season rounds up, mate.
Then it's Scottish Cup the week after that.
Aye. So we'll be back to review all them, and we'll be back next week as well to sort of review the Scotland game, and we'll get the listeners' questions in. We're going to be creating ourselves a wee Facebook page as well, just to sort of get our message out there. And if you enjoy our content, you'll be able to find us on Facebook at Strong Opinion Hibs. We'll make that. We'll post it on the Twitter and things like that, so the listeners can find us if you're interested. Tell a friend. We never really plug ourselves, but tell a friend. If you've got a friend that's a Hibs fan, tell them. They might want to listen to some of the rubbish we talk about. And aye.
And also, if people want to come on the podcast as well, we're always looking for guests too, if anyone fancies it.
Exactly, mate. 100%. I agree with you there. If you want to come on the podcast, let us know. And that's great, mate. It's quite funny, actually, because the last couple of podcasts, obviously, like I've been listening back to them.
Aye.
You never realise how much... For some reason, I've developed this stutter, but I'm like, or like, I was listening last time, and I must have said like, 100%, mate, 100%, at least 10 times, and I was like, I never say that on a daily basis. I never say that. So it's quite weird doing the podcast without that, but it's a good laugh, mate. And if you'd like to come on or get involved, as Charlie says, just drop us a message.
Aye,
but
there we are.
Until next time, we'll catch you then. Episode 6. Cheers, mate.